Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates post-game live after the Warriors get a 103-89 victory over the Houston Rockets at Toyota in Game 7 to advance to the Western Conference semi-finals. Oh, this is why I love sport. This is honestly why I love sport, because you have a whole series, right? You have 6 games of data in which to work through to try and predict what's going to happen in game 7, and you try and work out why the Warriors can win and why the Rockets can win and all these different things. And yet no one that analyzes the game, no one that watches these games, anyone that follows basketball in any sense of the word would have predicted that Buddy Hield would come out and have 33 points in a game 7. Just the most shocking individual performance that I can remember. And I know short term, okay, I'm sure there's other shocking performances, recently in these playoffs or whatever else, but I can't get over it. I'm sitting here 45 minutes after the game ended, and I just can't get over the fact Buddy Hield just had 33 points in a game 7 on the road to lead the Golden State Warriors to victory. It is just one of the most stunning things that I have seen. Now, fair credit to the Warriors, who's, I think, as good as Buddy was, the defense in this game was just super suffocating to keep the Rockets. I mean, they kept them to 89 points, but the Rockets, they benefited from the Warriors, who kind of stopped playing defense in the last couple of minutes there. Really, they had, less than 80 points with a couple of minutes to go. Just a masterful defensive performance from Golden State. I think we need to give Steve Kerr a lot of credit for basically just saying, all right, we're going zone. You guys are going to have to try and figure that out. But within that zone, we're also going to play Draymond on Alperun Sengun straight up. And we're not going to help. And we're going to say, all right, your young star, 22 years old or whatever he is. Yes, he's a great young talent. But game 7, is he going to be able to stand up to the best defensive player in the world? And he shot 9 of 23 from the floor, right? Draymond Green, again, a no-show. Dylan Brooks didn't do a whole lot. Van Vliet finally cooled off a little bit after 3 straight games. So full credit to the Warrior defense, full credit to Steve Kerr, full credit to Draymond, who I've been somewhat critical of over this series outside of his obviously big clutch stop on Sengun in game 4. He really set the tone, as Steve said after the game. So massive, massive performance from the Warriors defensively, even getting on the glass, limiting Houston's size and an impact on the interior. Like the fact that Steph, he obviously made a real emphasis of going back and getting defensive boards. There's times where there's 2-3 guys going up against Steven Adams just to be able to collect the board. So defensively, a huge performance from the Warriors. But again, no one could have possibly predicted that Buddy Hield would come out and have 33 points in this game. 22 in the first half. He had nine made threes from 11 attempts, which is just it's just mind-boggling stuff. So it matches former Warrior Dante DiVincenzo for most made threes in a game 7. Just to put this into some context, so this is clearly Buddy's playoff career high. It's also his season high quite comfortably. And it's the first time since December 8, which ironically came against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who the Warriors now come up against. It's the first time since December 8 that Buddy Hield has scored more than 22 points in a game. And he goes for 33 in a game 7. He went into this game averaging 7.2 points in the series. He had 43 total points through the first 6 games, and then just goes for 33 in a game 7. This is the stuff this is why I love sport, because you just get these absolute random performances that you couldn't possibly predict. It's the best reality TV on earth. It really is. And just credit to Buddy. I mean, how much time does he buy himself here? He's almost going into Warrior folklore now. It has been such an up and down, frustrating season for Buddy Hield, where I think all of us, well, not all of us, but most of us probably saw his name in the starting lineup for this game and thought, here we go again. No way he's going to Buddy Hield in the starting lineup for a game 7 do or die on the road. Surely, we're past this. And he comes out and has 33 points. It's just, I don't know, the faith that Steve Kerr has in this guy is far greater than I think any Warrior fan would possibly have based on what we've seen throughout the course of this season. And yet the faith in Buddy Hield has been ultimately rewarded with this performance today in a game that it's stunning. It is genuinely shocking that Buddy Hield would have this type of performance in this environment in a do or die game 7. It's quite unbelievable. I'm going to get into your guys' comments here because there's a lot to go through. The Warriors, again, winning 103-89, defensively so good. Offensively, only 3 points from the bench, which came from Loon. We saw some Looney minutes. We saw some brief Kuminga minutes in each of the first and second halves, but I think it was, 7 minutes total. So, man, just a wild game. Warriors are up by 12 at halftime thanks to Buddy. They were up by 15 early in the third quarter. The Rockets, Amen Thompson, man, shout out to that guy. He is going to be an absolute star for a long time in this league. If he develops a jump shot, the league is in trouble. And it's kind of a little bit sad, to be honest, to see Amen Thompson having such an impact for the Rockets and then Kuminga on the Warriors side doing absolutely nothing, it must be said, and people are going to criticize his performance, but I don't particularly blame him given the lack of playing time recently and how he's been treated by Steve over the course of the last couple of weeks here, going back to the regular season finale against the Clippers. But anyway, we'll get into your comments here, guys, because, wow, what a victory, and I'm sure we'll start to get on to Minnesota as well with this short turnaround now. The Timberwolves will host game 1 on Tuesday. So the Warriors, no real time for celebrating here, but we'll do so anyway in this post-game live. Priscilla says Steph gave Buddy his power for game 7. I think I did see someone on social media say, did Buddy and Steph switch bodies ahead of game 7? But in credit to Steph, like, he didn't have his biggest game points-wise. What did he finish with? 22. He had only 3 in the first half. So 19 points in the second half. Had some big buckets early in the fourth. The Rockets cut it to 3 there at one point late in the third quarter, and you thought, we're in a bit of trouble here. But the Warriors steadied, went on a 12-2 run, which included the first 5 points of the fourth quarter, all from Steph. So some big buckets from him late. Again, I thought his rebounding, that was the first double-double that a Warrior player had in the series with 22 and 10. He also had 7 assists. And let's be honest, like, Buddy Hield did his job, but it was all created from Steph Curry, as it always is. Like, the defense just honing so much into Steph, 2 guys going at him, and, Buddy Hield was able to take advantage of that. And full credit to Buddy, because on another day, like, we've seen him, he can, we're going into this game, what was he, 2 of 10 and 0 of 6, I think, in his last 2 games. So this is the Buddy Hield experience, but I don't think anyone thought that it could get this high and that he'd be able to produce this kind of performance in a game 7. Double March says Warriors win, but Thendix says Buddy freaking Hield almost passed out when I saw he was starting. Exactly. Like, I don't think too many fans would have been happy with that, but we're happy now. Double March says thank God we don't have to play the Rockets again. Just kind of the series kind of went as I would have expected, where the Rockets are really good, no doubt, but they do lack some experience and they clearly do lack some offensive star power. And I think the Warriors just played them really well in this game, basically saying, all right, they took them away from the 3-point line completely. Like, they were 6 of 18 from beyond the arc. And the Rockets aren't a big-time 3-point shooting team anyway. But it always meant that, like, things were so difficult for the Rockets that when the Warriors had a double-digit lead, 8, 10-point lead, whatever, it almost felt like it was way more than that, because the Rockets were never at no point, nailing a bunch of triples that could get the game, back in their hand rather quickly. So it was just a slow-paced, defensive-minded game. And as we've seen throughout this series, that's tended to favor Golden State, and it did again in this series. And I full credit to Steve, full credit to Draymond, basically saying, all right, we're going to play zone, but we're also going to play Sengun kind of straight up on Draymond, and we're not going to double Sengun. We're not going to allow him to kick out to open shooters necessarily. We're going to ask him to go one-on-one against the best defender in the world. And, Sengun goes 9 of 23 from the floor. Just an expert performance from Draymond. And full credit, like, to everyone for the Warriors defensively, including Buddy. Like, Buddy Hield played really well defensively in this game. Like, it was wild. Like, it wasn't just his offensive production. He was engaged. And I think when Buddy is getting his open looks and he's hitting some shots, it no doubt invigorates you, I think, a little bit more to play harder on the defensive end. So full credit to him. I mean, Jalen Green, again, a non-factor, and Hield was a part of that. So, yeah, just a wild Buddy Hield performance. I can't get over it. I honestly cannot get over it. FTW Clan says, was Game 7 Buddy born today? It was his first one. I mean, this is a guy who's got very little playoff experience. He played, the series last year for the 76ers went to 6 games, but I think he might have had 3 DNPs or 2 DNPs in that. He had one good game where he went for 20 points in the elimination game when the 76ers lost. Aside from that, he did absolutely nothing. So this is a guy with very little playoff experience, and to come out and play like that is just truly astonishing. Empire says this was 12-3, buddy. This was better than that. This was better than the Buddy Hield we saw at the start of the season. This was like, I mean, Buddy was, I think his best in those first few games might have been 27 or 28, and he goes for 33 in this game. So there's even another level on top of that. And I think defensively as well, he was really, really good. Logan says, Buddy Hield proved me wrong. He showed up when it mattered the most. I honestly can't get over it. It's astonishing. He had 3 more threes than the Rockets had as a team. Thai basketball fan says they might get destroyed by the Wolves with the just trying to make sense with the 5 games having so little rest, but at least we got this one. Anyway, I agree with you. I think game 1 on Tuesday is going to be really difficult for the Warriors to get. Obviously, not just the lack of rest and lack of time between this game 7 and game 1, but also I think the fact that like you have such an emotional high from this game. And yes, maybe part of it, you can roll some momentum into the series against the Timberwolves now, but I also think part of it is you go from an absolute do or die game 7, high emotion, with the win to, okay, now we go back to a game 1 where we can try some things out again where it's not completely do or die. Obviously, it's a playoff game. You want to win every playoff game you're a part of. But I'm going to be interested to see how Steve manages the minutes, because we saw obviously the starters play big minutes today. Jimmy played nearly 45. Draymond played 40. Pods played 40. Steph played 45 and a half. I wouldn't be surprised if those guys get a little bit of rest in game 1. And the Warriors, clearly they're going to try and win game 1. There's no doubt about that. But they're not going to be going absolutely all out for it as if it was an elimination game like we saw today. So it's going to be interesting to see. Mr. MRA Space says Kuminga got his feet wet with 7 minutes after 6 straight DNP. Steve Kerr has a heart. First guy off the bench. Just part and parcel of Jonathan Kuminga's career to be out of the rotation for essentially 4 of the first 6 games. Like, I know he missed game 5 with the migraine issue, but let's be honest, he would have been out of the rotation anyway. So for him to then become the first guy off the bench for Steve in a game 7 on the road is just unbelievable. But it kind of just is part and parcel of Jonathan Kuminga's career to this point through nearly 4 years now. And he wasn't good. He was, in fact, his minutes were terrible. He didn't do anything positively, I didn't think. He had a really sloppy turnover in the first half. He missed a 3 really bad. In fact, the one good move he did make was in the first half where he kind of went up and under Adams, pump fake, up and under. It was a great move. Good drive to the basket. Pump fakes Adams, gets under him, and then just blows a layup, and then blows the putback attempt, right? And I was there watching thinking, well, that's a good move. He just missed the bunny layup at the end of it. But aside from that, missed the 3 in the second half, that costly turnover. Adams got an offensive rebound over him in that third quarter as well, where Smith missed a 3. Adams got an O-board over Kuminga and then kicked it back out to Smith, who hit a 3. And that was kind of a big play. I think that was the one that cut the Warriors lead to 3. And it was like, okay. And then JK was out again quickly after that. So he did absolutely nothing in this game. From a positive note, he was a -4 in his 7 minutes 22. He had 1 rebound, which was the putback attempt on his initial missed layup. He had 1 steal, 1 turnover. 0 of 4, 0 of 1. Not a great Jonathan Kuminga game whatsoever. He got blocked by Eason on that kind of turnaround jumper at the end of the shot clock. So I don't know. I'd probably stick with him in game 1. I know this will sound weird, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some game 1 minutes. Just again, because I don't think you want to be playing Jimmy 45 minutes. You don't want to be playing Steph 45 and a half minutes. I don't know, is the Timberwolves matchup kind of similar to the Rockets in terms of they've got size and they've got athleticism? Do we see some Jonathan Kuminga in game 1? I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I wouldn't be surprised. But again, you're not doing it based necessarily on this game because he didn't do anything. But again, I'm not surprised. Like, asking him to come out in a game 7 and perform after his lack of playing time recently, it's hard. It's really difficult. And I honestly, I don't blame him whatsoever. To our basketball fans, as I did not see the early JK minutes coming. Knew some adjustments were probably on the way, but didn't expect this one. Well, GP2, of course, was out with the illness. Hopefully he's good to go on Tuesday against the Timberwolves in game one. But obviously, GP2 was obviously the worst player from a plus-minus perspective in the entire series. So I'm not sure that necessarily hurt the Warriors too much. And that's going to be the thing, I suppose, if GP2 is back for Tuesday's game one, does he just take the Kuminga minutes? Possibly. We'll wait and see. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if, Steve goes to Kuminga again. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to Guy Santos and says, all right, Guy, just give us some hustle. Like, we're going to be lacking energy in this game. You're kind of the high energy, high motor guy that can go out there, scrap for some loose balls, get some rebounds. I thought early in the game, the Warriors missed a few loose ball opportunities on defensive rebounds. I thought Jimmy had a weird game where you look at his final stat line, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and he was 7 of 13. He hit 2 big threes, which were like bailouts. And that was the kind of game for Jimmy. It wasn't necessarily his game. He wasn't overly dominant offensively, but man, did he bail the Warriors out of some possessions where they had absolutely nothing going. He just chucks up. He had basically 2 corner threes where it's like end of the shot clock almost, just chucks them up and they go in. A couple other mid-range jumpers where, again, end of the shot clock goes in. So just some really important isolation possessions and just shot making from Jimmy Butler. But aside from that, there's a couple there with Van Vliet where I was like, man, what are you doing? Not only not getting to the rim against him, but also just careless with the basketball, turned it over one time, and then the next possession, the Rockets lost their challenge because they challenged the out of bounds after Van Vliet tried to strip it from him. So not a dominant Jimmy Butler game, and again, not a dominant Steph game necessarily, but those guys still created plenty for the Warriors offensively and were still much better than Jalen Green was, or even Sengun was for the Rockets, who just basically had nothing aside from Amen Thompson in that third quarter. Again, credit to him. He's going to be a star player in this league for a long time. And I think plays the game generally the right way. I think some Warrior fans will probably be a little bit frustrated still with maybe what happened earlier in this series with Jimmy in game 2. But I love Amen Thompson as a player. And I think if you're going to take one Rockets player out of this series, it's definitely him. Sengun was okay throughout this series, but he wasn't overly efficient, I don't think, necessarily. And I think when it came down to it, Draymond gave him some trouble. And a lot of the shots that he was taking were probably deeper than he would have liked, and I think that one at the end of game 4 probably typified that more than anything. And to be so inefficient in this game for a big man who lives around the basket, 9 of 23, he's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but you have to be an absolute genuine superstar to be able to play the way he does in a winning system, if that makes sense. Again, the Rockets shoot just 18 threes in this game. If you're getting up 18 threes in a game, you're going to have to be really, really good at everything else to win. And they just weren't really. So again, full credit to the Warrior defense. Just Blow says, it's funny I said to win this, I want 20 plus from Buddy, 15 plus from Pods at work this morning. Yeah, I mean, we didn't really. I thought Pods wasn't great. He missed, him and Buddy got all the shots they could get basically. The Rockets were just saying, we're loading up on Steph and Jimmy. You guys make us pay. Buddy Hield did. Pods didn't. I mean, he had a couple of important baskets, but ultimately, he was 9 points, 4 of 12 shooting, 1 of 7 from 3. Some of those threes, the one at the end of the third quarter where the Warriors were up 8, and it's geez, if he could have made that and gone up 11, that would have been handy. So missed some threes that he could have made, but otherwise, again, I thought he was relatively good defensively. Kind of does a little bit of everything as he does. Had that big charge on Sengun where he got set just in time. Sengun came barreling in. Would have otherwise been an and one, but Pods got there in time and drew the charge. So, no doubt they're going to continue to trust in him moving forward. The issue for me, I guess, from this game, and this is always going to be the case in Game 7 when it comes to the bench, but how many guys do the Warriors trust in? I thought Kuminga again wasn't great. Moody, I thought was awful. Moses just did not do anything really. I know he was a +6 in the game, but he was 0 of 5, 0 of 3. Did have 3 rebounds, but man, him and Pods, I think they passed up some threes that they could have otherwise taken. And I think going into this game, if you said Moses and Pods were a combined 1 of 10 from distance and 4 of 17 from the floor, you would have said we're in some trouble. But fortunately, Buddy Hield just came alive at the right moment. Just Blow says, crazy how in the end we wanted the double bigs on the floor. Yeah, I think like at the end of the day, we just made a real conscious effort of saying, all right, well, we're going to, if you guys want to play through Sengun, we've got the best defender in the world. We're not going to allow, like, you guys are clearly lacking 3-point shooting. We're going to make sure. I just think the Warriors this is the best game that I think from the entire series, where they made a collective effort of, all right, we've all got a rebound. We've all got a group rebound. And that's what it takes when you're undersized. Like, I mean, man, I play social league basketball on a Tuesday and I get, so frustrated with my teammates where guys are trying to run out and transition and getting cheap buckets and whatever else, and they're not coming back to rebound the ball. And it's like, man, like a couple of the bigger guys, like we're here trying to box guys out. We need someone else to grab the rebound. And, the fact Steph was able to have 10, Jimmy had 8, like I think that was, really, I think typified the fact the Warriors made a concerted effort of team rebounding rather than leaving it up to, because Draymond at the end of the day, like he's got he shouldn't be the one expected to rebound the ball. Like he's got his work cut out trying to match up with Sengun and then with Adams at times. So I just think the Warriors did just such a terrific job defensively. Tired basketball fan says, some people will try to say Steph didn't play well. Playing defense and rebounding exactly what you should still be doing, making an effort to do that even when your shot isn't falling, the shot will come. Absolutely. Like this was like not a great Steph game from a scoring standpoint, but I thought everything else he did terrifically. Like again, defensively, picked right on that one. Was it third or fourth quarter, or whatever, where Brooks drove and he picked right and got an offensive charge there. Again, giving the ball up and just, again, all Buddy Hield's open shots, basically majority of them came from Steph. And they weren't necessarily assisted by Steph, but it's him, getting double teamed, getting the ball out of his hands, getting it to Pods or Draymond, whoever it is. And then, Buddy's on the weak side or whatever else, and he's wide open. And Buddy Hield, cashed out in this game, 9 of 11 from 3, one of the most stunning 3-point shooting performances you're ever likely to see. Star basketball fan says, I was surprised they didn't manage to punish it earlier in terms of the double big lineup. Might have to do with Steph's thumb making him less aggressive, but we'll never know because he won't admit it. FTW Clan says, I love Draymond's game today. He was locked in, didn't see him bark at the refs once, and played amazing D and provided some scoring. Absolutely. Just a terrific Draymond Green game. I've been, again, critical of him throughout this series. I don't think he's been great, but he turned up and he rocked up right when the Warriors need him, as a number of guys did. But I think Draymond particularly, because he's the leader of the group defensively, if you look at the games the Warriors won throughout this series, they are winning. They won these games. They won this series based on defense. And when Draymond Green's locked in, I think he's the best defender in the world. And he showed that again today. Again, keeping Sengun to 9 of 23 shooting. But, Draymond himself offensively, 16 points, shot 8 threes, which I don't think is great. But he was aggressive, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, steal, a couple of blocks as a plus 18. Just great, a great Draymond Green game. So credit to him after not a great series through the first 6. Just Below says, same. I thought small ball spacing would destroy that concept. It kind of did today until, again, like the Warriors won this game, again, defensively, yes, but also on the 3-point line. They go 18 of 43, 41.9%. The Rockets, 6 of 18. And I think they were 4 of 15. I think they might have made 2 of their last 3 in like the last 2 minutes. So the Warriors outscore them by 36 at the 3-point line. Buddy Hield outscores them by 9 at the 3-point line himself. So that's the difference in the game in the end. FTW Clan says, Curry didn't start off hot, but he protected the ball all night and managed the game and then got going in the second half. Absolutely. Thanex says, 7 turnovers. That's how we win. For sure. Like, I just think this was a really controlled game. I think the game just slowed to an absolute halt. Like, if you go back and look at it, I just made a mental note of it as I was watching the game. I was like, man, how many times are these, like, are both teams, like, taking shots at the end of the shot clock? Like, and it was actually a good thing. I felt the game went perhaps quicker than what a normal game would, because it just felt to me as it, and what I mean by that is, like, the actual duration of the entire game kind of went quicker because there was less possessions and therefore like less foul calls and stuff like that. It was more so just like half-court offenses, slowly bringing the ball up. We're not going to try, like, how many times did you see the Warriors try a throw it, or either team really try a throw-ahead pass to a guy trying to leak out in transition? I don't recall one. I don't recall one. I think the Warriors just said, you know what? Even if there's like a 60-40 play where you can outlet the ball and get 2 points, and there's a 60% chance of that happening, but it's also got some risk about it, and you might turn the ball over. Like, I think they just said, we're just not doing that at all. We are bringing the ball up slowly. We are making this a half-court game. We know that we have the best two most talented and best shot makers in the game. We also have the one guy who the defenses are just going to absolutely sell out to, which means we're going to be able to generate much easier shots than what the Rockets are going to be. And that to me is the difference. The Warriors had Steph Curry, which even in a half-court offense, that means you should be able to get a decent look, a reasonable amount of possessions, right? Like, you should be able to get decent looks. And even when, like, okay, they're not doubling off Steph, even when Steph's taken some of these shots, like any shot is good for Steph. And as opposed to the Rockets side, where it's like, how many good looks did they get? Like, they just didn't. They just did not get good looks. And that's because they don't have the spacing out there when they've got the double bigs. That's because they've got Sengun, but he's being guarded by the best defensive player in the world. So to me, it's like, Warriors, slow this down. We're going to have no turnovers whatsoever. And we're just going to make this a half-court game. We're going to have so many possessions. Again, a mental note, like so many possessions where it's like the end of the shot clock, right? And at the end of the day, Warriors have tougher shot makers, and they also and better shot makers, and they also just have Steph Curry, who's going to generate that much, who's going to bend the defense that much that he's going to generate a heap of good looks for guys like Buddy Hield, who ends up going 9 of 11 from 3. All right, sorry, back to your comments. To our basketball fans, says, I was so scared the Fred VanVleet magnet ball will last one more game. Thankfully, it was time to come back to reality. What did he finish up with? He made a couple late again. He was 6 of 13, 3 of 6, 17 points. I don't think it was a terrible game from VanVleet necessarily, but it also wasn't the electric performances that he'd done with 25, 26, and 27 point games or whatever in the last 3. So, I mean, the Rockets they had no answer. Amen Thompson was really their only answer. And even then, it's like he's doing all his work on the interior. He's having to like jump up and show his athleticism and go through 2 or 3 guys just to make a layup. It's not like Buddy Hield, who's out there just scorching hot from 3. Like, the Rockets had none of that, right? None. Like, Dylan Brooks, 3 of 9. Again, Sengun, 9 of 23. Jalen Green, just, man, and not. I don't know what you got to do with Jalen Green, but is he going to step up? I know he's young. You probably want to give him time, but this is a Rockets team who probably should be like ready to go as of next season. Like, they should be ready to go, looking to try and win a championship. I think from next year, I think Amen Thompson's that good. I think Sengun's that good. I think they probably need to go and make a trade. I suppose the balance for them is, okay, do we go out and make that trade for a veteran star like a Kevin Durant and try and prop up our offense with an absolute go-to shot creator? Or do we just back in our group of young, talented players and the future assets we have? That's the balancing game that they're going to have to play over the offseason. But the Jalen Green stuff, ugly. Like, what did I say after game 2? We had 38 points or whatever in game 2. I was like, cool, great. He had his one good game in a game the Warriors are probably going to lose anyway. Fantastic. He's probably not going to do that again. And guess what? He didn't. It was shocking. Absolutely deplorable, Jalen Green. But am I surprised? No, I'm not. Mr. MRA Space says, Jimmy trade +1, Luka Doncic trade -1. Crazy how the Warriors are through the second round of the playoffs and the Lakers aren't. Tired Basketball Fan says, the problem with this team is they're small but can't really shoot, unlike previous small ball Warriors. Still, they could have done much better. Then next says, JK has to go. We got another series at least before we truly get into those conversations, but I think I tend to agree. Then next says, I think against the Wolves, post will be a factor. Hopefully. I mean, what he started the second quarter, didn't he? And he played like 2 minutes and that was it. What did he play? Quitting post 3 minutes and 29. It's actually 90 seconds more than I think he did. I want to give credit. Can I give credit? Now, the box score doesn't do him any favors. He had 3 points and 4 rebounds and a block, right? Man, I thought Loon was good in his 11 minutes. I thought he was really good. He just negated Sengun and Adams enough in his minutes. And man, that guy, like, I don't know. You keep thinking, I think a lot of us, go through times where we think he's washed and we think he's no good. But you just knew Steve was going to go to him. You just knew that Steve was going to go to him for 10 to 12 minutes and say, I trust this guy. Game 7, he's done it before. I trust him. And again, 3 points, 4 rebounds, nothing spectacular. It was a 0 in the game. So it wasn't as if the Warriors were a huge plus minus either with him on the floor. I just felt comfortable with Loon out there in a way that I probably didn't with Post. And I think Steve's probably the same. Like, Steve just feels a little bit more comfortable with Loon out there as opposed to Post. In saying that, I've always said I think the upside of Post and his 3-point shooting probably means that he needs to play more than Looney. And I think that might be the case early on in this Timberwolves series. But the further the series goes, and the further that Post doesn't particularly have an impact, like he kind of did in this series, didn't have necessarily great impact, obviously, over games 5 and 6. You kind of knew that Steve was going to go back to Loon. Sorry, just catching up on comments here. Max says someone post a comment so he can disagree with it. Disagree. Rebellious says he's not a star. Stop it. Delusional. Who is this in reference to? Anyway, play on. Ed Marsh says Violets can't beat talent. No more Felon Brooks. Empire says I want a Buddy trade at first, but I don't anymore. He's very inconsistent, but when he's going, he can be the best player on the team and lead a team to a win. I mean, I guess, yeah, like this game showed it. He can be the best. Like, was he the best player on the floor? I just still feel like he was definitely like the MVP, I suppose, in terms of like, you couldn't have predicted that Buddy Hield would play so much better in this game than he just generally does. Like, this is an out of the box game. So it's definitely the Buddy Hield game. But I also tend to suggest, like, Steph had 22, 10, and 7. I think it's a pretty underrated game, particularly in the second half from him. Just to, like, not force things too much, but still get going in the second half when he had to. And let's be honest, again, as I said before, like, Steph just generates so much for the Warriors offensively in terms of the easy looks for Buddy Hield. So credit to Steph, but obviously huge credit to Buddy as well. Just Blow says, what's happened to Moody's shot? Looks completely off. Robert says Moody is in a slump. Yeah. He hasn't shot the ball well for a while. It's a bit of a concern. If you go back to like the last 15 games of the regular season, not ideal. So it's going to be interesting to see how much because I actually went into this game wanting him to start over Buddy. I really did. I just thought, okay, you got to this position with a starting lineup of Steph, Pods, Jimmy, Moody, Draymond. They were so good throughout the regular season after the Butler trade. They were the best defense in the league throughout the last period of the season from February 7 onwards. So I just thought, like, go back to what worked for you. Obviously, I got it wrong. Steve got it right. Went to Buddy Hield. And I just think, like, even though the percentages would probably say they're fairly similar, there is a confidence to Buddy Hield and there's a threat to Buddy Hield that I don't think Moses has. I think opposing teams, yes, obviously the Rockets today were kind of happy for Buddy Hield to fire away from 3. I mean, at least for the first few. And then after all, they were like, oh God, it's just making everything now. But even then, like, Buddy Hield is capable of going off and now I'm not sure he is going to be going 9 of 11 from 3 again, but he's capable of like 6, 7 threes in a game. As Moses is like, has he had a 7 3-pointer game before in his NBA career? Like, he's not going to bring that for you. So I don't know, like 11 minutes he deserved like probably less than that in this game. I thought he was awful, but I'm going to be interested to see what his minutes are moving forward. I just think, like, game 1, you're going to have to balance these guys out a little bit more, where Draymond, Steph, Jimmy, they play a lot less, and that's going to bring other guys into it. Kuminga, maybe. Moody, I think most definitely. Post, most definitely. So we'll see if GP2's back. Gee might even get some minutes, so we'll wait and see. Cornelius says, if our wings could shoot like the old days, this would have been sweet playing the way they played us, daring Pods and Moody to shoot. Still probably something the Warriors need to address in the offseason is getting another knockdown shooter, right, who can take advantage of that. Just Blow says 2 of Dre's threes will bail out, so we can barely give him a pass. And they both came early, didn't they? He had like 8 points in the first few minutes. Alex says, credit to Kerr showing love and investing in Buddy throughout the year, and to have it blossom in a game 7. I think between Buddy and Kuminga, Kerr made the right choice. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think Steve obviously showed faith in Buddy throughout the entire season that I don't think many of us would have. And again, as you say, Alex, he does deserve some credit for showing that faith in him in a way that he hasn't for other players, particularly younger players in the past. Obviously, Buddy's a veteran now. But Steve obviously, knew throughout the season, hey, we're going to need this guy. Like, we're going to need him in potentially big moments. We need to keep him invested. We need to keep him engaged. And full credit to both of them, to Steve and to Buddy for this performance. Just Blow says, love seeing the Warriors' bodies hit the floor for those loose balls and Rockets fouling down 17 seems more accurate. Arminia says, Houston must be so sick of Warriors basketball. Yep. Yeah, it's a different era of Rockets basketball with a completely different team, but it's the same result as what we saw in 2018. Thai basketball fan says Van Vliet hit 2 threes when the game was completely over. Makes his stats look better, but it had no impact on the game. Agree with that. Just Boy says, when a man grabbed the calf, I instantly thought KD. Fingers crossed that's okay for him. Kind of hurt them a little bit because obviously he had that, grabbed at the calf after he was fouled by Pods on that drive. And then early in the fourth quarter there where he was guarding Steph, and then he kind of just obviously had an issue with the calf again. He let Steph get a shot off far more uncontested than would otherwise have been. And Steph nailed it. And that was at the point where I know the Rockets got back within, was it 7 or 8 after that? But when Steph had those first 5 points in the fourth quarter, I was like, okay, here we go. Because now Steph's found a bit of a rhythm. Now he's starting to get going a little bit. So that's, again, I didn't feel comfortable at that point, but when he came out and had those first 5 points and put the lead back to 13 early in the fourth, I thought, okay, we're in a good spot here, real good spot. Empire says, Rockets fans must be furious at Jalen Green. He had one good game this series. We gave Jalen Green too much credit, expected 2 good games for him. Yeah, I kind of wouldn't have been surprised at 2 good games, but I don't know what you do with that if you're the Rockets, because it's kind of putting a handbrake on your hopes, because I genuinely think, God, the weather's getting terrible out there. I genuinely think this team, they just finished second in the Western Conference during the regular season. Like, that's no joke, right? That's no joke. And this team, I don't like putting a ceiling on young teams. Like, if you've got a good young team, you should be going for it. Like, stop trying to wait around. I think I've been probably a little bit critical of the Thunder. Now, the Thunder might go on and win the championship, but I actually think they've had so many assets over the last couple of years. Like, I think they could have made moves to try and accelerate their timeline a little bit. Maybe you don't have to, right? But you don't know how the league works. You don't know how the NBA landscape changes, and it can change rather quickly. Right. So if you're in the window, if you have an opportunity to win, I think you should go for it as a young team within reason, right? Like, I'm not saying, go trade Sengun, Jalen Green, and all your picks and whatever else like that. But I do think that Jalen Green's putting a bit of a handbrake on what this team, can be and what they can do. You flick that out to a consistent, doesn't even have to be a great player, but a guy who, can consistently get you 20 points. The Rockets probably win that series. Like, he was just such a non-factor in the end. Empire says, I was nervous in the first quarter. I thought Dre was going to get ejected. He was good. Again, as someone said before, like, he played under control. He had that one moment in the second quarter where he got fouled by Van Vliet and then like put his hand out or whatever he did and got a technical. But anyway, play on. Steve says, how can we expect Kuminga to be in rhythm when Kerr does not give him enough run? Minnesota does not have an offensive problem like Houston does. Agree with that. I don't blame JK at all. In terms of the Timberwolves, I actually think that, so they're better. They're far better offensively, but I don't think they're going to give the Warriors as much problems defensively either. It's going to be an interesting series. It's going to be interesting. I got asked before, like, what do I think about the series before I came on here? And I thought, Well, I think I don't have much faith in game one. I think Minnesota will win game one, and therefore, like the Warriors have to win 4 or 6. That's going to be difficult, but I think we're still a reasonable chance, right? Like I'm not as confident as I probably was going into this series, and this series obviously went to 7, but I think we're a chance, right? I think we're maybe the Timberwolves are slight favorites, but we can definitely win the series. George says Pods is just a role player in another team. He's too slow and can't break down anyone off the dribble. Also, no mid-range game. Had a nice pull-up baseline jumper in that second half there, but aside from that, didn't have a great game. Look, I'm not gonna overreact to one game. We got to remember he went for 26 or whatever it was in game 4. So look, the kid's 22 years old. Plenty of time for development. Didn't play well in this game, but I'm not going to crucify him for it. Thai basketball fan also says Pods is also a role player on this team. Ideally, he might have a smaller role, but this is what we've got at this point. Yeah, I still feel comfortable. Like I know he's going to play hard. There's no question marks about that. He can impact the game in other ways, even if his shot isn't going, which I think is important on this team because I think there's too many guys who are kind of one-dimensional players, and Pods might not do anything at an absolute elite level right now. But I think he can do a bit of everything. And again, I think that's important. And I think that's why he gets so many minutes because he is a guy who can, create a little bit off the dribble, but ultimately you don't want that. He can kind of penetrate. Yes, he gets to the paint and often comes to a jump shot, a jump stop and gets himself stuck a little bit, but he can rebound. He'll take charges for you. He'll try hard on defense. He can be a catch and shoot threat. Again, 1 of 7 in this game wasn't great. But, he's 38% on the season after a rough start or whatever. So, look, I think he's going to be a guy that continues to play big minutes moving forward. Then says Steph almost had a triple-double, but Thai basketball fan says 4 stocks as well. I just think the way everyone bought in defensively, like if you're going to play zone and play the way the Warriors did defensively, like you're going to have everyone locked in. You're going to have everyone bought in defensively. You're going to have everyone bought in and locked in to team rebound. And I just think everyone did. I just think it was a fantastic performance from the entire team. Cornelius says he had to show Buddy love. Who else can shoot from deep? That's the only thing that scares me. We got exposed. We can only go as far as the other shooters take us. We'll wait and see how the Timberwolves, I suppose, try and guard the Warriors. Just Boy says the Rockets can't give up on Green. I think he needed this. Potentially, like this could be the making of him. Young players go through rough series all the time. We always talk about like it's, this could be good for Houston, right? This could be, we often talk about paying your dues. As a young team, you got to lose once or twice in the playoffs before you really break through, right? That's part of the learning and the growing process. So this could be a good thing for Houston. Still think it's a very, very successful season for them. Like they've had a great year. Is this a disappointing result for them? Absolutely. But I think it's not quite their time. It's not quite their time. Might not be the Warriors' time either, but they're just trying to hang on for a couple of this push and maybe another one next season. And Houston, they've got a bit of runway here. In saying that, I don't think you should waste the runway either. I don't think you should just plod along thinking, we're going to develop. All right, we've lost in the first round this season. Now next season we might win a playoff series and we'll be happy with that. No, like I think you try and go for it when you can. Thai basketball fan also says, I think we overreact a little to young teams having some ups and downs. Look at the Wolves. Everyone was mad about the Cat trade, but Annie's 23 years old. Most greats have growing pains individually and team-wise. Absolutely. Ty also says, I don't know if they have enough for the Wolves, but I won't rule it out. He says, I'm so glad we didn't sign Jonathan Kuminga to $30 million a year. Man, I tell you what, that contract, I don't think, honestly, I don't think he'd be getting DNPs right now if that guy was on Earth. I know this sounds weird, but politics and the way things are viewed, I think, play such a role in this, where if the Warriors had signed Kuminga to 5 years, $150 million before the season started, which was, I think, reportedly on the table or whatever, and Kuminga turned it down. If he was signed to that right now, I don't think he'd be getting DNPs. I think he'd be playing because I just think you couldn't have the optics of this guy's about to enter a $150 million contract and he's not playing. Now, Jordan Poole was in a similar situation where he almost became unplayable in the playoffs in 2023 and was obviously entering a 4-year, $130 million contract or whatever. But Poole still played a little bit. His minutes got reduced, but he still played a little bit. And I suppose he was never at a point where he's going to get DMPs necessarily. But yeah, I think the optics of it, I think the Warriors are in a fortunate position, very fortunate position, obviously, that they didn't sign Kuminga to that deal. And now he's looking like a guy who he might be lucky to get $20 million a year, to be honest. Cornelius says, Ant, different man. You got that factory. I don't know what you're saying there, but we should have drafted him 23. And I know what you're meaning there. Yeah, I mean, Ant's amazing. He's going to be a far better player than the Warriors facing this series against the Rockets. In saying that, like, I still think, the Timberwolves have got some really good players. Are they guys that I particularly like? Could Randall come out and have an absolute stinker of a series? Like, he just had a really good series, I think, against the Lakers, but could he come out and have a stinker of a series? Maybe. Like, Gobert had a huge game 5 against the Lakers, 27 and 24, but could Draymond try and get the best of him? Yeah, possibly. Like, McDaniels will probably have a game or two where he shoots really well from 3, but is he going to be a consistent force offensively? Like, these are and the Warriors have the same questions, right? Beyond Steph and Jimmy's, like, Pods and Buddy Hield, they're probably going to have 1 or 2 games. Moody might have a game where he shoots really well from 3, but are they going to be able to do it across the course of the series? These are the questions, right? These are the questions that face both teams. Thai basketball fans says Steph and Ant backcourt would have been crazy, man. Oh, the Wiseman pick. Imagine that. Imagine pick 1 getting Ant and having a Steph Ant backcourt. Oh, God. Anyway, there's no reason for us to be talking and dreaming about this when the Warriors are about to play the Timberwolves and have, as I said, a legit chance of winning this series. I'm going to finish it up there, guys. Been going for nearly 47 minutes. Buddy Hield. That's all you got to say. Buddy Hield, just an insane performance from him. 33 points, 9 of 11 from 3-point range. Absolutely wild. Thanks to those of you that have commented. Thanks to those of you that are watching on replay or listening via your podcast feed. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that would be greatly appreciated. Follow me at POK252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. I might do another episode tomorrow just previewing the Timberwolves series. We'll wait and see how we go. Otherwise, of course, I'll be back for a post-game live after game 1 on Tuesday. Looking forward to that one. Not overly confident in the Warriors winning it, just based on obviously going through these emotions in the short turnaround from this game to game 1 in Minnesota. But you know what? I said after game 6 that I wasn't overly confident about this game 7 either, and the Warriors were able to pull it out. So I'll be pleasantly surprised if we can do the same again and take game 1 in Minnesota, which would obviously be huge. Thanks again, guys, for the ongoing support, and I'll see you on the next one.